the 9th Annual World of Customs Indoor Car Show, Friday through Sunday, February 27th through March 1st in Tupelo Furniture Market, Building 5. Custom cars, trucks, and bikes from across the nation. With adult admission, you'll get a ticket for a chance to win a Yukon Toolbox to be given away Sunday, donated by Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning, a free garage floor from Bo's Best Epoxy Flooring. The World of Customs Car Show, February 27th through March 1st in Tupelo Furniture Market, Building 5. Partially funded by Visit Mississippi and Tupelo Visitors Bureau.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 5.
Halfway through the week and heading into a soggy Thursday ahead. I'm meteorologist Gabe Maynard here for Mississippi Live Weather at 5. Tracking those rain chances building into those overnight hours, but again, those better chances will move in on our Thursday. But that's not topping our broadcast tonight. What we're topping the broadcast with, well, rain chances building tonight, but we're also getting some of that basketball action moving into tonight, getting a little bit of some extra content, and that's where our Ethan Foster will come into play. Playoff action continuing tonight. He'll have some of the highlights as we get into our Wednesday evening highlights coming up at 10 o'clock. But a few rumbles on Thursday, not impossible, again, with those better chances of rainfall. The first 12 track set out into those overnight hours. At most, we'll get to about 30 to potentially 40% coverage into those overnight hours. But as we get more into our Thursday, a few rumbles of thunder do mix into the forecast as well. Not exactly going to be severe storms, but could be impactful with a few sub-severe wind gusts. But nonetheless, heavy rainfall, definitely a possibility, and we'll track that out here in just a moment. But understand, rain gear will be needed for any of those Thursday plans. 63 degrees in Batesville right now. I put it here because I wanted to see if we could get any of those showers that are trying to work their way through Panola, Marshall, even Lafayette County. But 63 degrees and those dew points in the upper 50s tells me that there is moisture in the atmosphere. A big difference from what we were tracking this time yesterday, showing how that atmosphere has shifted and almost primed itself for those showers and storms to move in later tonight and for your Thursday. 66 degrees Kosciuszko, heading out to those church plans. A few areas may need those light rain jackets, but nonetheless, it's not going to be for everybody, to say the least. Starkville, 66 degrees, 57 degree dew points. The Diamond Dogs will be headed over to Texas along with the Ole Miss Rebels. We'll look at that forecast for folks that are heading out there with them coming up later at 6 o'clock tonight. But that's going to be happening this weekend, and you're shaping up for a pretty good forecast out there in the Lone Star State. As we look at our Mama Justice Doppler radar, there's where those showers are forming. Again, I put Batesville in there because there were a few very light showers moving through Panola County earlier on. Now moving through northern Lafayette County, Marshall County getting a good bit of that as well. But if we transition our radar sites from the Monroe County radar site up there towards Memphis, I mean, you can see the extent of this rainfall. It's not exactly impactful, so to say, but we are getting some of those light to moderate outputs right along Highway 4, moving up there towards Holly Springs and along I-22 as well. So if you turn the windshield wipers on for a brief moment, don't be shocked at all. That's just that limited moisture that's associated with that stationary front that's just beginning to move into North Mississippi. And we talked about how slow moving that front was. Yeah, it's gotten even slower. We'll look at that in just a moment. Again, bringing it back in here to our Mama Justice Doppler radar. Back here closer to Malone, up north towards Holly Springs, let's go ahead and look at those rainfall rates. And again, these are not overly impressive. Malone, I would say, has the highest output right now, but even that's a ½ inch an hour, showing that this isn't exactly going to amount to much here in the next couple of hours with this limited rainfall potential as we get our evening started. But as we get more into our Thursday, some higher outputs are possible, up to about a ½ inch in some spots as those isolated heavy outputs happen. Our stationary front remaining right across that northern Mississippi line, the state line up there towards Tennessee. Stationary front's not exactly a fast-moving front, so that's why we get those lingering effects for a prolonged period of time. So it's not going to be a sweeping front that brings us showers and thunderstorms and then is gone. No, it could linger, and that's what we're seeing right now. It's lingering up there towards the Tennessee state line, giving these isolated showers. I mean, real quick, I'm going to zoom it in and show you just the cyclic nature that we're getting. Just these showers continue to develop along this boundary that's basically close to Sardis Lake and then up there towards Marshall County. So the continued progression of these showers will continue into our evening hours as well. So if you don't want to deal with the light rainfall, have that umbrella on standby, especially if you live along Highway 72 or north of Highway 6, I would say has the best chance of getting any of those showers for our church plans. Let's zoom it back out once again as we track out Futurecast, because I do want to show how that front will start to move a little bit more to the south. And what we're watching to drive us is going to be this low pressure center up there towards Kansas, Oklahoma, and moving south and east, basically colliding with our front late hours of our Wednesday. So we're remaining stationary right along the Tennessee state line before that front does basically collide with that frontal system and then starts to drive it a little bit more towards the south and east. And that's where we'll have more of a lifting mechanism to potentially produce some thunderstorms, maybe some sub-severe storms as well. Impactful, but not exactly getting those severe thunderstorm warnings attached to it. Fortunately, I don't think any of us want that, but we all still need that rainfall and some brief heavy downpours. Although it is a little bit inconvenient, we do still need it, and we're hopeful that we get a little bit of that into our forecast. But a rumble of thunder is not impossible throughout our Thursday. You can see those scattered chances lingering about the day, getting upwards of about 40 to potentially 50% chance throughout our Thursday. But nonetheless, it'll be enough to have that rain gear ready, because that scattered progression means that you'll be dealing with rainfall. Might not be a ton, but at least some rain chances as we go about those Thursday plans. Coming up in the next 60, we're tracking those rain chances county by county, how much rainfall we're going to be getting, and how that may impact some of those forecasts ahead, including basketball tonight. Latest look at that forecast and latest look at your game of the week forecast as well. Coming up on Mississippi Live Weather at 5, live here from the Room to Room Weather Center in the next 60 seconds.
At First Choice Bank, we know you can't always make it before the bank closes. With our integrated teller, you can talk to a live person as late as 7 p.m. on weekdays and noon on Saturdays. It's not just an ATM, it's an ITM. First Choice Bank, your choice for banking.
When C.K. Little opened his doors in downtown Corinth nearly 80 years ago, his plan was simple: deliver excellent service and exceed expectations. That's why we say a little gift goes a long way.
As we move into storm season, here's something most homeowners don't realize after a storm. Roof damage isn't always obvious. Wind can lift shingles, breaking the seal. Hail can bruise them below, and flashing around chimneys and pipes can loosen without you ever knowing. That damage may not show up for months. If your area has strong wind or hail, a professional inspection will help bring you clarity before small damage turns into bigger problems.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's meteorologist Gabe Maynor.
So while it may not be our game of the week, we are getting you additional basketball coverage tonight with our Ethan Foster. He's over there at the Itawamba campus giving us the latest on those highlights, and he'll join us tonight at 10 to track out what has happened and where that bracket stands. But if you're heading out tonight to watch any of those games, the forecast going to be some hit or miss showers as we go about those evening plans. I mean, you can see isolated coverage by 6. We're 30% by 8, and then still around that same mark by 10 o'clock tonight. So if you're heading out to any of those plans, I would go ahead and pack the rain gear just in case, whether it's in Boonville or at ICC, or should I say Northeast or ICC, but make sure to, I guess if you dodge it, consider yourself fortunate, but it's going to be very spotty showers as we go about those evening plans. Speaking of Northeast, the campus just south of there in Alcorn County, looking out of Alcorn County tonight, it is 57 degrees, and again, trying to look south closer to Prentice County where the Northeast campus is. You can see those gloomy conditions that have lingered all day long, but not impossible. We mix in a little bit of those light showers as the stationary front inches closer. Fulton, again, close to the ICC campus, 66 degrees, still with those southerly winds out of the at about 14 to 15 miles an hour. That's enough to bring in the moisture, and that's why dew points are a little bit increased from what they were this time yesterday. Again, priming itself for some of these showers that are taking place. If we look out of our Mama Justice Doppler radar, we are dry here in Monroe County and basically dry south of Highway 6. Where we see those showers start to form is going to be up north there towards our Memphis radar site, right around the Marshall, Benton, and up there towards Lafayette County as well. Now, what I want to do here real quick is change our radar sites up there to the Memphis radar sites. And again, if we look at some of these shower outputs, it's not overly impressive. Again, a large part of this is going to be those light to moderate showers, so that's not going to amount to much whenever we're talking about rainfall accumulated totals. But nonetheless, we are watching that as we get further into our late evening plans and into our Thursday morning plans. So what we're watching right now is dew points and where they currently stand. There are a few spots that show the low 60s. It's going to be primarily out there towards the Delta, working its way towards West Helena and close to Tate County as well, just populating in a few of those. Now, that's not really saying this is an unstable atmosphere, especially when the other portion of North Mississippi is in the mid to upper 50s. So what that basically tells us is that it's not going to be severe weather, but rain chances are still expected. We're just grateful that they're not going to be anything more than that. Maybe a few rumbles of thunder, but again, not going to be highly impactful storms. So looking out of our Oxford camera there in Lafayette County, we're 64 degrees. Big thank you to the folks at Phoenix Building Solutions for sponsoring this look over in Lafayette County. Reason why this one matters, this is one of the few counties that are actually getting some of those reported rainfall, rain totals in the northern part of the county. But even those rainfall totals, I mean, you have to squint in order to see any of those accumulated totals. Right now, if we look in Lafayette County, well, it's not too much, but it's trace amounts as we work our way across the area, even up there towards Marshall County and DeSoto County. Not much, like I said, a large part of this not even reaching the surface because these are more elevated. But as we get more into Thursday, we do expect some higher outputs to begin to move into the area. Our futurecast for our Wednesday evening stays with those showers. And again, I think this is a little bit ambitious in the coverage area, but what this is telling me is that moisture is building back. Most of this does stay elevated, but eventually does reach the surface, and that's where we'll see some of those rainfall totals start to climb. That starts to occur later into our Wednesday night and into the overnight hours as well, as that stationary front lingers right over the top of North Mississippi and allows for these showers to continue to build. But like we tracked just a moment ago, these showers don't really begin to progress into North Mississippi until early on our Thursday, once that low pressure center in Kansas collides with that frontal system and drives it further towards the south and east. That's where we'll have more of a lifting mechanism. That's where we expect more rumbles of thunder to move into the forecast. Low temperatures still going to be, on the milder side for sure, even warmer than what it was this morning. We're 55 in New Albany, 57 Amory, 59 Starkville, and low 60s Greenwood, Belzona, and Greenville. Not much of a wind chill whenever we're looking at that because it is just too warm, but that's definitely a good issue to have. The only note with that forecast is since it is so mild, it does show us that rain chances are going to be surrounding North Mississippi, scattered in fashion, but nonetheless the chances are still there. Drop off enough to have the rain gear at 30% coverage, 56 degrees, 65 there by lunch, and even towards that final bell, 68 degrees. That's a pretty warm forecast for this time of year, but rain chances will highlight that forecast nonetheless, and that'll be impactful in its own right in the fact that we have to drive or walk in that rainfall. Now, this stationary front will begin to make its way towards the south and east. Again, that will transition more towards a cold front as that next system moves in, and that'll start to drive it further towards the south and east. If you watch the progression of this front, you can see how there's those yellows and reds that are showing up. What that's telling us is some of those higher rainfall rates are happening, but it is getting a little bit more lift along this cold front. And so potentially some higher storm tops will happen, resulting in some heavier rainfall, but also the potential for some small hail. That's what we're watching for in these afternoon hours once we get some of that unstable air to build a bit more during 12, 1, and 2 o'clock on our Thursday afternoon. That's going to continue to be right along this frontal boundary as that continues to progress through North Mississippi, giving us those increased chances of rainfall around the Golden Triangle by 3 o'clock, and then pushing more towards the south and east as we enter into the late afternoon and early evening time frame. But still some of these reds showing up, so some brief heavy downpours not impossible, and even a few rumbles of thunder. We're not ruling that out either. You look at some of these cells, especially that one south of Aliceville, definitely stands out because it is in that most unstable part of this system, and that could potentially produce some of those stronger storms. May not be severe, but still could be on the stronger side. As we check out those rainfall totals overnight, I told you that it will eventually start to accumulate into something, and we're getting about 1/4 of an inch with that initial round, and then as we move further towards the south and that frontal system really starts to produce some heavier showers by the afternoon, that's where we're getting about 1/2 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch once that fully pushes south of Highway 82. High temperatures on your Thursday, about as good as they can get for this time of year. We're 73 Louisville, Macon 72 in Aliceville, 75 showing up in Belzona, while the rest of the area, upper 60s, still not complaining about that forecast at all. Keep in mind, we were in the low 20s 2 days ago. So that's a good looking sight getting into our Thursday forecast. Futurecast highlights that low pressure center moving into our southern part of the Magnolia State and then into Alabama as well, taking a large part of this moisture with it, but a few lingering showers not impossible as that system kind of wraps up and pushes its way out of the area. What we get on the back end of this is that northerly wind pushing back into the forecast. Now, this is not going to drop temperatures like what we saw earlier this week. This will actually push in some drier air, meaning your Friday, whew, that's going to be a good one for sure. Low temperatures already starting out on the milder side with the low 50s in the Golden Triangle, Starkville, Columbus, and even down there towards Macon. We're 52 Greenwood, but 46 Water Valley, 46 Oxford, New Albany, 48 in Tupelo. It's still mild no matter where you're at, and those temperatures just continue to climb as we get further into our Friday. Northerly winds giving that dry air once again, but again, not that cool air that we had earlier on this week, so don't have to worry about bringing out the third or fourth layer. I think we'll be good with maybe a light jacket for that morning commute. And by the afternoon, we're shaping up for a beautiful forecast with warm temperatures returning once again and abundant sunshine and clear skies here in North Mississippi. So Friday, you need to have plans, and those plans need to be outside to take full advantage of this beautiful forecast that we do have. I told you warm air would still be in the forecast, not seeing a temperature dip due to this cold front. And we're only going to be in the upper 60s towards New Albany, Boonville, and Red Bay. Still low 70s showing up by the afternoon. So again, all the more reason to get outside. It's going to be a great forecast. If you do want to head to our game of the week, we are going to be at Northeast, watching Rosa Fort take on Kosciuszko. That is going to be happening later on your Friday, and it is going to be up there towards Boonville. You see the clear conditions across the area, but you also see the milder temperatures in the forecast. I will say, when it's night, it's enough to have a light jacket whenever we're in the 50s, but we're not talking about the multiple layers like what we had earlier on this week. Our 7-day forecast stays with those rain chances on Thursday, and then we're dry throughout the weekend. That's just that high pressure center moving in, but the warm air does stick around as well, mid-70s for both Saturday and Sunday afternoon. We remain in the 70s towards Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, but some isolated showers do work their way back into the forecast. You can kind of see that with low temperatures climbing while high temperatures remain nearly the same. That shows that that moisture is building a little bit more into North Mississippi. So heading into the start of March, we will be warm, but we also might be dealing with a few pop-up showers. Of course, we are live on all of our socials right now, and a big thank you to everyone for tuning in tonight. I see that Marcellus is asking, where is Matt? He is off tonight, and he will be coming back tomorrow. Still TBD on whether he will be here tomorrow for the broadcast, but he will for sure be here for our game of the week on Friday, and excited to have him back, but I hope that he does enjoy some time off and get what he needs to done. But yeah, I mean, appreciate you guys joining us, and that is a little update on where things stand. So, of course, we will be live at our normal times, 6 and 10 tonight. So if you have not made plans to tune in, go ahead and make those plans. We appreciate all the company here on Mississippi Live Weather. Go ahead and download that free app as well, iOS and Android, free and available on both of those app stores today. And you can always tune into our website, msliveweather.com. Has all of the graphics and everything you need to know before you get your day started. Our next broadcast, like I mentioned, at 6 and 10 later on tonight. I'll be here tracking the latest on those rain chances. We're also going over the potential weather impacts with our exclusive triple threat. That is coming up at 6 o'clock tonight. You'll want to stay tuned for what to expect and what areas need to be expecting it. That all coming up in more detail live here from the Room to Room Weather Center at 6.
Growing up, Gabe was naturally curious. When he began to discover weather, Gabe just didn't want to know what was happening, but he wanted to know why it was happening. Gabe became fascinated with tornadoes, and it impacted his life. He wanted to pursue a career in meteorology. Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.